Okay.
So Moez, you have
Hello,
any
Assalamu
question?
alaikum. Yes. Yeah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good afternoon, everybody. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Hassanein and Dr. Schwarz for arranging this exciting meeting for the 14th Diabetes and Ramadan International Conference. My topic is about the physiological changes during Ramadan for people with diabetes. Uh, Nowadays, the research on fasting is growing tremendously because of the increased attention toward fasting as well as one of the best and most safe and effective intervention for many of the disease conditions. This research nowadays focusing in different aspects that highlight the impact of fasting on health and disease. These include metabolic health and disease prevention, cancer prevention and therapy adjuvant, gut health and microbiome, neurological health and function, reduce oxidative stress and inflammation, and cellular repair and longevity and autophagy. All these nowadays have gaining more attention. Ramadan fasting is actually one of the most extensively studied models of fasting in the current era, actually. And we can see that under the umbrella of the SDGs, whereas Ramadan fasting occupies a large occupation, a large space of the research on fasting, with particular attention toward diabetes and the non-communicable diseases and promoting mental health as one of the main types of research for the Ramadan fasting over the last 7 decades. This can be shown clearly through the different models of presentation for the most frequent topics on fasting, as you can see here in the word cloud and in the crescent, where diabetes is one of the most extensively actually studied aspects in Ramadan fasting, and as well as BMI, body weight, and other aspects related to body health and metabolism. Nowadays, fasting is, as I mentioned, has been gaining great attention because of the different beneficial and health benefits that the fasting people can gain on different body organs and systems, including the blood, the liver, the intestines, skeletal muscle, the adipose tissue, the pancreas, the vascular system, and the brain. And all these have been extensively studied in different models. Now the research on fasting has been transformed into more clinical application actually through different models of fasting that resemble Ramadan fasting, especially for the TRE, where we have the alternate day fasting, we have the 5 to 2 fasting, we have the time restricted fasting, which is most close to the pattern of Ramadan fasting, with different beneficial, as I mentioned, health effects have been reported. Actually, fasting is not just only a kind of abstinence from food and water, if it is with fasting or dry fasting. It is more than that. It is actually a kind of comprehensive change in different aspects, including the gut microbiome, the circadian rhythm and the circadian clock, the dietary and lifestyle behaviors, including the activity, sleep, smoking. And all these changes have a direct impact on the different metabolic and inflammatory aspects, including the local metabolic regulation, cardiometabolic risk factors, lipid profiles, satiety hormones, inflammatory cytokines, and inflammatory panel. And at the end, this will shape the effect of fasting on the disease risk, especially for diabetes, obesity, CVD, and cancer. One of the most important and extensive reviews on fasting is the one published in the New England Journal of Medicine, showing how the intermittent fasting affect the body systems and organs in different ways that help in improving the health and disease prevention. The key point here is the metabolic switching, whereas the body starts to utilize the ketone bodies instead of the glucose, and the subsequent beneficial effects of this metabolic switching on the glucose homeostasis by decreasing insulin resistance, increasing insulin sensitivity, and improving the glucose secretion and utilization. This is clear with the cyclic metabolic switching suggested by Mark Matson, who hypothesized that this pattern of cyclic metabolic switching has a direct beneficial impact, or long-term and short-term beneficial effects on the body health conditions, including the insulin, improving insulin secretion and sensitivity, reducing abdominal fat, inflammation, blood pressure, improving the microbiota, improving the cognition, resilience, and at the end help to lower the risk of diabetes and obesity. As I mentioned, different metabolic aspects have been shown with focus on the liver and the metabolic switching that characterizes the metabolic pathways upon fasting regimens. One of the most important things also is the improved beta cell apoptosis and glucagon secretion, and the improved glucose tolerance and beta cell survivals upon the fasting, and the improved beta cell regeneration. These cumulative effects have been attributed to the improved change in the gut microbiome, whereas a significant improvement have been reported during fasting in the gut microorganisms and the metabolites that are produced from these microorganisms, including the short-chain fatty acids, acetate, propionate, and butyrate, as well as the reduction in the lipopolysaccharides that have adverse effects, as well as the reduction in the inflammatory cytokines like interleukin 6, interleukin 1 beta, TNF alpha, and the improvement in the gut health. This is also shown in Ramadan fasting, actually, where the cumulative studies prove that upon the observance of Ramadan fasting, there is improvement in the diversity of the gut microbiota.
I think if we have the picture again, Moez, do you hear us?
Yeah.
Yeah. About 30 seconds
It's fine.
ago, the line broke. You can go ahead now.
Yeah, there is a new screen. Yeah. Now looking for the amber. Sorry?
We see the slide on RAF and gut microbiota changes.
It's sharing now.
Yes, go ahead, Moez.
Now?
Go ahead.
It's fine?
Yeah, but the slides are not moving.
Now?
No?
Close, share screen.
Maybe restart the presentation.
Okay.
Come again.
Or if you wish to switch off the video, we'll be able to listen to you.
Now?
Now we see this slide umbrella review of time-restricted eating, but not now in
Yes.
presentation mode. Perfect. So it's perfect.
Okay, the umbrella review, which is the meta-analysis of the meta-analysis also on the time-restricted eating and Ramadan fasting, also showed consistent beneficial effects on the observance of Ramadan fasting and time-restricted eating on the blood glucose and lipid profile, including let me just again. Including the reduction in the body weight, improvement in the blood glucose, slight reduction but significant in triglycerides, total cholesterol, which have all beneficial effects. Other meta-analysis or umbrella of the meta-analyses on the RCTs on intermittent fasting also show the same beneficial effects on the effect of intermittent fasting on anthropometric and cardiometabolic risk factors. A third network and meta-analysis of the meta-analysis also supports the same finding that intermittent fasting has a potential to improve the metabolic health, with alternate day fasting appearing the most powerful and effective in improving the health outcomes that include the different aspects of anthropometry, blood pressure, glycemic control, lipid profile. All these have been improved significantly upon the observance of the alternate day fasting as one of the most extensively also studied experimental fasting models. For Ramadan fasting, our meta-analysis showed also beneficial effects over large population size, including more than 4,326 patients or participants, because all these were observational studies on Ramadan fasting, showing that the observance of Ramadan was associated with significant but small reduction in the waist circumference. The same for the fasting glucose and for the triacylglyceride or triglycerides, and small significant improvement with HDL and significant reduction in the systolic and diastolic blood pressure as well. Other meta-analysis, we showed also that Ramadan fasting was associated with improvement in different cardiometabolic risk factors, including total cholesterol, LDL, improvement in HDL, and significant reduction in the VLDL cholesterol, as well as the triglycerides, systolic and diastolic blood pressure. But the weight also was reported to be significantly reduced upon the observance of Ramadan fasting on large scale systematic review and meta-analysis over 4,100 fasting people in Ramadan, and showing a significant but small reduction in the body weight by about 1.5 to 2 kilograms. For the glucometabolic risk factors, also our meta-analysis showed a significant improvement in the cardiometabolic risk factor, including significant reduction in leptin and significant improvement in adiponectin, with significant also but small improvement in or increase in insulin, because this was on healthy people, not patients with diabetes. HOMA-IR also was improved significantly by the observance of Ramadan fasting. Inflammatory markers and oxidative stress markers also improved upon the observance of Ramadan fasting. In our meta-analysis on the inflammatory markers showed that interleukin 6, interleukin 1 beta were significantly decreased upon the observance of fasting, as well as for the TNF alpha and the oxidative stress marker, the maronidialdehyde. And also all these consistent with the improvement in the cardiometabolic profile for those people who are observing fasting. For the liver functions, also significant improvement was reported in different liver parameters, including the AST, ALT, GGT, ALP, bilirubin, LDH, prothrombin, and all these confer a kind of short-term protection against the fatty liver diseases. Looking for our latest umbrella on the about 20 meta-analyses on Ramadan fasting and the cardiometabolic risk factors, including both patients with diabetes and healthy people, showed that in general there were significant improvement in different aspects that are related to the cardiometabolic risk and obesity markers. And these include the body fat percent, body mass, body weight, fat mass, fatty-free mass, waist circumference. And the good thing that among the most effective affected parameters were the body fat percent and BMI, both in patients with diabetes and in healthy population who observe Ramadan fasting. In addition to the systolic, diastolic blood pressure, the lipid profile, all these were also improved, as well as the leptin, adiponectin, serum albumin, adiponectin, leptin, yes, all these were improved upon the observance of fasting, as shown is in this umbrella review. For the body composition and the body fat percent, also this meta-analysis showed that Ramadan fasting is associated with significant also reduction in the total body fatness and visceral fat. This is our first study showing the significant improvement, about 60 to 70% to up to 80% in reduction in the inflammatory markers also upon the observance of fasting. For the visceral fat and how Ramadan fasting affects the visceral adiposity and the adipocytokines, it was clearly shown by the MRI that Ramadan fasting was associated with significant reduction in the visceral fat once compared to the pre-fasting, as shown in the visceral adiposity index as well. This proteomic analysis showed also Ramadan fasting was associated with improvement in the proteomics related to cancer, metabolic syndrome, and severe cognitive and neuropsychiatric diseases. And this also were supported by other studies on the proteomic analysis that support that Ramadan fasting was associated with improved insulin sensitivity, insulin signaling, and decreased insulin resistance in people with overweight and obesity. This could also be explained at the genetic level, where Ramadan fasting was associated with improvement in the FTO gene, which is known to be associated with increased visceral adiposity and increased fat. And this improvement in the gene expression of the FTO gene was also associated with improvement in the different anthropometric, inflammatory, and lipid profile markers. such as TNF-alpha, interleukin 6, with improvement in the HDL and the anti-inflammatory cytokine interleukin 10. Other study we performed on the gene expression showed also significant improvement in the anti-oxidative stress gene expressions like the NRF2, the TFAM, the SOD2, superoxide dismutase, which all support the improvement in the oxidative stress profile and metabolism upon Ramadan fasting. Now looking for the metabolic effects of different forms of intermittent fasting on type 2 patients, type 2 diabetes patients, and this systematic review on the RCTs showed that intermittent fasting in general, with different types of intermittent fasting, significantly decreased the glycosylated hemoglobin, fasting plasma glucose, body weight in short term compared to the control interventions, but showed also similar effect to the control interventions in the long term. There was, as you know, always high heterogeneity in all the studies on fasting, whether Ramadan or non-Ramadan fasting. As we can see here, there are significant improvement in the HbA1c, with more improvement in the long-term intervention. And this is very important that to gain the benefit of fasting, it should be for at least 3 months to gain the benefits of fasting on the HbA1c. The same thing, significant reduction in the fasting plasma glucose, with short-term and with the, also the long-term effects. Both were affected beneficially with intermittent fasting. For the effect on body weight loss, also there was significant improvement in the body weight and in the body weight, with more pronounced effect for the short-term interventions duration for the body weight specifically. A significant improvement also was reported in the HDL upon the observance of fasting or different intermittent fasting by patients with diabetes. Significant and reduction in the LDL, also cholesterol among the patients with type 2 diabetes. The same for triglycerides. Less extent improvement, but not significant in the total cholesterol. Other meta-analysis also analyzed the evidence about the effect of different intermittent fasting regimens on the patients with type 2 diabetes, and the risk of bias showed that generally the level was accepted, and low or small risk of bias was reported for the different studies. 11 studies were reviewed and analyzed, and they showed no significant actually changes in different aspects once comparing the intermittent fasting protocol with other control groups. 7 studies on patients with fasting glucose were analyzed and showed that no, as I mentioned, no significant differences in the 2 groups. And this contradicts the previous study, and this could also be explained by the different methodologies, the different populations, the different durations of fasting, the different types of intermittent fasting or fasting regimens that were applied in the research. As I mentioned, no significant differences were reported. Third, meta-analysis on the impact of intermittent fasting on type 2 diabetic patients showed a significant reduction in the body weight, but without having significant reduction in the HbA1c, and also showed that the beneficial effect for fasting was more pronounced for those type 2 patients with high BMI more than 36 than with those patients with less than 36 BMI, which means that the massively obese people may get more beneficial effect of fasting than the less obese people. For the study duration, the short-term duration less than 4 months was reporting more significant improvement in the body weight reduction or body weight once compared to the long-term duration. For the HbA1c, as I mentioned, was not significantly changed, but there was slight changes between the high and low, and more pronounced beneficial effects for those who have high HbA1c. Lipid profile did not show significant differences upon the analysis of the different effects of different intermittent fasting regimens on the patients with type 2 diabetes. The fourth meta-analysis also showed beneficial effect in lowering the total cholesterol, triglyceride, LDL cholesterol without changing the HDL cholesterol for those patients of diabetes who are observing different models of fasting. Analyzing the effect of Ramadan fasting on the type 2 patients with diabetes showed different actually findings. About 28 observational studies were conducted in the Middle East, Africa, and Asia in this study. A total of 11 studies consisted of more than 3,700 patients.
Moez, I
Please.
apologize for interrupting you. But,
Yeah.
I would be very keen to ask you to find a kind of concluding remark for our attendees. It's a fantastic firework
Yes,
you are
yes.
presenting about all the effects. Maybe you can
Yes.
come with a
Yes.
conclusion. What is the main driving aspect
Yes.
for you as a
Yes.
physiologist for
Yes.
fasting, Ramadan, and diabetes?
Yes, yes, thank you. At the end, intermittent fasting and Ramadan fasting as well can induce favorable physiological changes in healthy individuals as well as in the patients with diabetes. However, the evidence is still limited and needs further investigation, more controlled studies with large population size, with longer term studies to ascertain the exact effect of observing different models of intermittent fasting, including Ramadan fasting, on the patients of diabetes. With more attention should be given now for the type 1 diabetes, where very limited evidence is available once compared to the type 2 diabetes. Again, controlling the studies, having more controlled designs, longer term, all these are warranted to have a clear idea how fasting affects the patients with diabetes. Major confounders that should be considered upon the execution of any study on fasting or Ramadan fasting should include the dietary intake, sleep, physical activity, which are major confounders that affect the or shape the effect of fasting and Ramadan fasting on the patients with diabetes. Also, it is wanted to have more complex analysis on the different medications, like whether insulin injections or the oral hypoglycemic medications given for those patients with diabetes to check their effect on lipid profile and other cardiometabolic risk factors. And thank you for your kind listening.
Thank you very much, Moez. This was a fantastic firework about the physiological effects of fasting. And a very short question and short answer. You if you coach people about nutrition, about fasting, what is your main driving argument from physiology pro fasting?
Yeah, I think from the available evidence that fasting has like a plethora of beneficial effects on different aspects in the anthropometry, endocrinology, even in the mental health, and it's very important also for the patients with diabetes as well. I think all these are driving forces to undergo further research on fasting and to try to translate the knowledge of fasting into more clinical aspects with different patients and disease conditions.
Thank you very much for this firework on evidence from Jordan. Mohammed, you have your mic.
Thank you very much, Moez. Looking forward for your face-to-face presence next time.
Inshallah. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.